Hey, what's up, my little Tattle Tells? How you doing? Well, baby, if you are the Kardashians, you are running, 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 running. What am I talking about? Kim is doing her best to disassociate herself with Kanye-Gate, right? Let's just call it like it is. Now, listen, I don't care if you're for Kim or against Kim, for Kanye, against Kanye. Can we all agree that there is an ish storm going on? And like Kim is doing, right? They are finally coming out and taking a stand once everybody in the world is saying you can't get past taking a stand. Now, let me just say this, right? Kanye said some anti everybody remarks, all right? I literally saw something and what he did at the fashion show that literally shook me to my core. I'm not getting into why. If you don't understand, fine, that's your own opinion. I am saying this, right? Let's take a step back, right? And thought whether you're for him, against him, for Kim, and against Kim. Can we talk about why it seems like in the Kardashians, whether it is their children who is directly affected by Kanye's feelings on institutional racism, or apparently their cousins, because let's not forget, Scott is Jewish. The kids are Jewish. They wait until the last second to do what's right, but they're always taking public opinion polls. It's giving very fake, it's giving very performative, and it's getting odd. How do you have more heat for what is going on with people like A than you did for what affects your own children, which is things like B? And here's the thing, they are both wrong, right? They both deserve to be spoken up about. It's just interesting what they choose to speak about and how long they take to choose to speak about it, right? Well, baby, let's get into these receipts, because guess what? Kim was out meeting with Ivanka trying to prove I got Jewish friends, right? For a meeting about what happens when a family member says something that you don't like. What are you talking about? Ivanka does not disagree with her father. So how is that even a thing? Second of all, Ivanka and Kim are like this. She's actually super tight with the Kishners. She looked like she was super tight with their father-in-law. So what is this performative mess? What are you signaling? But just in case we forgot to say, right? Now the whole family, what is this, a week after things happen, have finally come out and stood against what they think is wrong and for what's right. Give me a break. Yo, let's get into this. All right, now let's talk about what actually happened on this. It looked like the 405 freeway in LA, some people held these banners that had anti remarks, right? Now, why are we linking them to Ye? Because they put his name in the poster, right? And that's what made me click and be like, okay, so that's why the Kardashians are finally speaking out, not because they care. Anybody that thinks that family, and again, we're entitled to our own opinions, but anybody that thinks that family cares about anything but their bottom line, please, right? My whole point is, now if something happens, it is liability. There is a direct link to him, but there's also a direct link to Kim and her money. And again, they were fine with his anti-remarks. He's been saying things like this for a decade, right? Some of the things I even ignored because I didn't think he was in his right mind. But now we're seeing this is how you truly feel, right? I thought maybe he was confused. He showed us this is how they truly feel. So let's actually get to the Kim part, right? Kim, right, has been ignoring all this. Khloe ignored all this. Chris ignored all this. You have grandkids who are Jewish. You ignored it. But then again, you have grandkids who are black. You ignored it, right? This happens on the 405 freeway. All of a sudden, y'all want to become the champions of justice. Is anybody on any side buying this? Literally. Is anybody buying this? Is anybody buying their half thing that actually seem like they care? And again, look at these statements. And this is what is just so disgusting. Look at these statements. Kim, right? Meeting with Ivanka. One person inside the restaurant tells us part of the convo centered around how to handle a situation when a close family member may make comments you don't agree with, especially when they hurt my family. Your family. We're told Kim shared how deeply concerned she's been about Kanye's recent statements and the fact she's worried about her kids hearing what he said, especially given that they have Jewish cousins. yeah, that sounds good on the surface, but again, they're also Black, and they heard what their dad said about that. Did you meet with any Black officials? And again, even with the other part with Ivanka, yes, on the surface, that sounds like a beautiful thing that a caring family might do, but let's look at this. Your best friends, nobody, and this is why Kim's scrambling. I believe that people stay married for a while because they are more alike than different. True, you might be high strung, you might be more calm, but when it comes to core values about the way you see the world, the way you see people, the way you see the world, the way you see people, the way you see prejudice, the way you see all this stuff, I firmly believe that the reason they stayed married together is because they're more alike than different. The reason why you can sit there, remember how when he was speaking out about slavery, and Kim was like, well, who am I to tell somebody what they can think? Because if at best you agreed with them, at worst, you just didn't care. To me, when people talk about things like that, whether it is anti this remarks, whether it is our remarks, it means that you just don't care. Okay, now that there's all this hoopla, when it first happened and you had those cousins, you could have said something, you could have spoke out, you could have did a lot of stuff. It was nothing. It's not until the whole world came together and said, this is wrong, this will not be, you will be held accountable for this. What made them actually move? When he started losing endorsements, when the fashion world separated themselves from him, when they saw that it was going to affect their bottom dollar, then they wanted to come out and say all this hoopla, and hoopla they did. Hoopla they did. I'm trying to pull up the hoopla they pulled out. Okay. Now I do want to point out that Khloe was the first person to fall on her sword, because that dummy always is. And again, what she's saying on the surface is something good. It's a message that everybody should feel. But again, it's only motivated because you think it's going to affect your money. So what do every time they're going to say something a little bit constitutional? They let Khloe out because Khloe is the dummy. You saw the way she pledged her pledge of allegiance to Kim. So I'll get into it in a different episode, but she threw herself on the sword for the family. She always will. That's why they love her. That's why Kim and Chris keep her around, right? She is a pawn in their little game. So she did it. And when there was no blowback, and when everybody said, so Khloe released this saying, hate speech is never okay or excusable. I stand together with the J community, and I call on the terrible violence and hateful rhetoric towards them to come to an immediate end. Great. That's great. That's the way you should feel. That's the way any person should feel. And you should have felt like that last week. And they waited to see if there was any public blowback, right? Because they always got to make sure the numbers are exact. And when there was no public blowback and people said, I was waiting for you to say this, then Kylie came out with her, I support J friends and J people. Okay. And then finally, Kim came out and tweeted, hate speech is never okay. And she tweeted the same thing that Khloe said. Again, great sentiment. But even then, you thinking that this is bad and bad enough to speak about and protect and get something was only predicated once you think that your money, liability, lawsuits that's tied to him would be affected. Before that, you were fine to sit and fold your hands and let somebody say things that could hurt your nieces and nephews and grandchildren's. Well, it's a different conversations for the things that they've allowed to happen and the people that they've associated themselves with. But again, let me just remind you who Kim Kardashian is. I know everybody's busy looking at Kanye, and they should be, but just because he's wrong, like I always said, doesn't make you right, Kimberly Noel. This is the same person with Black children that got on Instagram Live with Jeffree Star. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Jeffree Star's name. Someone that is a known racist. They even tried to do kink third right like calendar pinup. It was sick. That's what Jeffree did. He is known His use of racist epithets, particularly the N-word, he is hateful, he is classist, he is elitist, he is a miserable person, at least for me and the people I know, love, and care about. Okay? The fact that Kim got on Instagram Live because he gave you a beat that made you look like him and you were so busy to steal his steez, which she did, looking like a dehydrated Momo, and you told Black people, particularly Black women, that they no longer have the right to feel any type of way or insulted about that clown that did your makeup, insulting and dragging us, and not something that happened 20 years ago, not something that happened 10 years ago, but every time somebody pulls a camera phone out around him, he's like, in there, this and in word that and right? He's doing all the hoopla. And you have the nerve to say you're over it and it's tired and it's delayed and the Black woman needed to move on because you've decided he's a good person? Man, let me tell you something. The only thing I think that Kim even slightly even cares about is what happened in Armenia, right? We all know she's some stuff. And even then, I think it's all cap because probably, yeah. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments, but this is who we're dealing with. It's giving fake. It's giving performative. Yes, everybody should feel like this. They were the last thing to go, and that's after they tested their numbers and made sure that that's where the tide was turning. Y'all, I don't think we could show any of them any mercy because until Kim shows that she actually doesn't agree and thinks differently and is not who she was married to and worked partners in crime with for almost 10 years, yeah, I ain't giving her any slack. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you later. Bye.